The General Staff of the Ukrainian Armed Forces reported a dozen hits that occurred on the night of November the 13th, but only one can be attributed to the Flamingo missile. Defense expert editor-in-chief and military analyst Oleg Katkov told NV Media. There is footage of at least one missile hitting, and General Staff video shows at least 4 launches. Katkov estimates that 25% of Flamingo missiles penetrate Russian air defense systems and hit their intended targets. He believes this is entirely acceptable, given that the weapon was developed in a rush during the war. Katkov answered a journalist's question regarding the specifics of the Ukrainian Armed Forces November 13 strike on Russia and the possibility of using Flamingo missiles. The analyst recalled that a Bars and Lyuty drones were flying alongside this weapon. Furthermore, there is confirmation that FP-2 drones struck the Kirovskoye airfield in Crimea. The aforementioned UAV flies 2,000 kilometers, and in Russia, on top of that, an oil refinery in Novoshakhtinsk suddenly caught fire. Meanwhile, there is video of hits in Orel and 4 launches from the General Staff. This seems to indicate Flamingo missiles, but he would still like to see the results of the strike, he noted. On the other hand, the estimated 25% effectiveness suggests the Flamingo missile's success, as it can actually penetrate air defense and electronic warfare systems rather than being 100% thwarted. Another question is the Flamingo's cost, from $500,000 to $1 million. The studio guest clarified that the missile is equipped with used engines that are simply refurbished. I personally would consider this wartime product an absolute success, because this missile is not a Tomahawk, not a Storm Shadow. It is a wartime product with all the necessary conventions made from what is at hand, from what can be assembled, from the components that can be obtained, with a navigation system that can be installed on it, Katkov added. It's worth noting that on the afternoon of November the 13th, the General Staff of the Ukrainian Armed Forces released a video showing the launch of 4 missiles. The command also reported that Flamingo missiles, along with other weapons, were used during the nighttime attack on Russian military installations. The targets included the Kirovskoye airfield near Yevpatoria, an oil terminal in Feodosia, an oil depot and command posts of the Russian Armed Forces near Berdyansk, and other targets. Meanwhile, this morning reports emerged of possible incoming missiles in Orel, Russia, 200 kilometers from the Ukrainian border. The Russians released footage of a bright flash on the horizon and traces of air defense systems operating directly over the city. In Russia, it is observed that the FSB is establishing a new power within the government. Things have gotten to the point where President Vladimir Putin himself has begun to lose control over the FSB. Recall, under Article 32 of the Federal Constitutional Law on the Government of the Russian Federation, the FSB head answers directly to the RF president, and the FSB director is the RF president's appointment, although he is a member of the RF government, which is headed by the chairman of the government. He also, ex officio, is a permanent member of the Security Council of Russia, presided over by the president and chairman of the National Anti-Terrorism Committee of Russia. But now the situation has changed. In Moscow, the walls of power are closing in. Putin's own secret police are arresting the men who once built his empire. Governors, generals, and ministers are being dragged from their offices into handcuffs. The Federal Security Service, the FSB, has turned from guardian to executioner. It is dismantling the very system it once served, piece by piece. Kiev-based national security strategist Jason J. Smart said this. According to him, inside the Defense Ministry, the purge is ruthless. Deputy Minister Timur Ivanov has been sentenced to 13 years for stealing billions from military construction. Other generals have been stripped of rank and jailed. The FSB now controls the courts, the prisons, and the ministries. Even Putin's oldest allies are no longer safe. The collapse is fueled by economic freefall. Oil prices have plunged below $54 a barrel, far under what Moscow needs to survive. Inflation is near 9%, mortgages have hit 30%, and the National Wealth Fund is running dry. China and Iraq have frozen projects, and foreign investors are fleeing. Ordinary Russians are emptying their savings as confidence in the banks vanishes, the expert added. Jason J. Smart said that on the battlefield, Ukraine's strikes are destroying the illusion of control. Drones hit oil refineries, ports, and power plants across Russian territory. Each explosion deepens the chaos in Moscow. The FSB uses every military failure as an excuse to tighten its grip. The regime is devouring itself, its elite collapsing into paranoia and betrayal. The war that began in Ukraine has reached the Kremlin's heart. The question now is, who still rules Russia? He said. Recently, a new law empowering Russia's Federal Security Service to operate its own pre-trial detention centers was signed into effect by Vladimir Putin, ending the Justice Ministry's nearly 2-decade-long exclusive control over detainee handling. A system established in the 2000s to align with European legal norms. The law, which will take effect on the 1st of January 2026, allows the FSB to create and operate its own facilities, in which it can establish its own standards for conditions in which pre-trial detainees will be held, transported, and investigated. The measure will affect detention facilities where individuals suspected of treason, espionage, terrorism, or extremism are being held in order, according to an explanatory note accompanying the legislation, to better protect state secrets during the ongoing invasion of Ukraine. According to researchers Andrei Soldatov and Irina Borogan, experts on Russia's security services, the law represents the basis for a new gulag and could lead to increased repression in the country. In addition to allowing the FSB to create its own facilities, the law will return at least 7 pre-trial detention centers previously operated by the Justice Ministry to the FSB's legal control, according to Meduza, an independent news outlet, including the notorious Lefortovo pre-trial facility in Moscow.